So while the Jays game was going on Saturday, the interim chair of Hockey Canada thought it was the best time to step aside. Now, at this point, it's pretty transparent when you make a PR move like this. You want to bury bad news. This is exactly what Hockey Canada wanted to do. But it didn't work because everyone noticed this happen. Now, this comes less than a week after Andrea Skinner, the interim chair of Hockey Canada, spoke at the Standing Committee on Canadian Heritage and basically defended everything Hockey Canada's done here in terms of how they've handled numerous allegations of sexual assault and numerous hedge funds where registration fees have gone into these funds to settle claims of sexual assault. So her statement Saturday during the Jays game, I can't emphasize this enough, read like this: despite recent challenges, I am gratified to have had the opportunity to cross paths with countless volunteers, dedicated people within the organization, sponsors, and other stakeholders. I sincerely appreciate the support I've received from many Canadians, particularly women, who also seek to positively influence the game and the sport. Now, Pascal St-Onge, our Minister of Sport, quickly came out and said, this is a great first step. We need more people to resign. The former chair of Hockey Canada, who had a month left on his term, has left. The interim chair has left. No permanent member of that board has come close to stepping aside. Dee, what has to happen next?
And it's a voluntary position. So when I first heard this, I'm like, okay, something's being done. Then I said, wait a minute, is Andrea just a sacrificial lamb? Like, we need to do something. Here's something being done.
In a way she was. Yeah.
Right? And then in the way she phrased it at the end, I had real problem with when she says, I have received from many Canadians, particularly women, who also seek to positively influence the game and sport. I'm like, now you're doing the double down where I'm going to use my gender in a way to ingratiate or justify what I said earlier about leaving the lights on. So has there been any introspection? Are you just stepping down because it's something and you feel like you're the one to do it because somebody needs change somewhere? And are you really understanding why it was problematic if you're still making excuses as to those handful of women or whatever it is out there who think this was great for the game, whatever she said? Because I think as a woman, she had responsibility to do better for the victims. Because why is nobody talking about these women? This is what it all stems down to, who were allegedly sexually abused, where in any other situation there would be a criminal trial and hopefully punishment, which we also know is another topic for another day, because a lot of women go through being victimized all over again.
Investigations are ongoing.
And then nothing happens, right? Like we see that all the time. Weinstein right now is on trial after how many women had to come forward, and he's only on trial now? Like, you think after the hashtag #MeToo that there would be more built-in empathy, sympathy, just like on a human level. And I worry by her saying what she did that she's still not understanding or grasping that. And maybe that's speaking to the climate of the board where it's just protect each other at all costs.
I think you're bang on. I think Hockey Canada is not living in our world. I think that's been proven numerous times. So again, that broke Saturday while Devo Brown was at the Jays game.
Yeah, D.
His second straight. So coming up at 7:40, just so you know, because Mel was there Friday, Frank Ferragini was there Friday, Devo, good morning, Devo, good to see you. Devo was there both days. We'll dive into that. If you want to take on this Hockey Canada angle, the latest development, Devo, go ahead.
Sidebar, I love your sweater so much.
Thanks.
That's amazing.
The sweater's nice. The sweater's very nice.
I really love your sweater.
Let's segue into the sweater.
D, I love
How
it.
I feel like a sad puppy this morning after that weekend, man.
You were there for both games.
Heartbreaking. We'll talk about it in just a little bit. But on top of everything, what you both just said there, I agree with 100%. But we also need to, it even goes further. We got to talk to parents.
Yes.
For hockey culture in general and what's happened. You know, Hockey Canada obviously allowing certain things to go on, but parents responsible for talking to these kids that are in these situations, that are in these locker rooms, saying, hey, you see something, say something. You know, parents are responsible for this as well. We can't just throw everything at Hockey Canada, which we still should show or throw things at Hockey Canada because they're not doing a good job.
But not only that, if there is this cover-up or silence and hush money and funds and everything that's happening, again, allegedly, why are we not focusing? How come these men, shouldn't they be feeling afraid right now of what they did and wrong?
I think they're
if they
afraid.
Didn't?
Go ahead,
like, if you're watching the movie, how come we're not talking about these players at all?
Yeah.
Ever. Like the ones who supposedly, allegedly committed these heinous crimes. This is like, we're getting away from the issue because of the politics of it all. And at the end of the day, women were allegedly violated in the worst way possible. And we cannot forget that's the humanness here that's missing.
The names is an interesting part of that. I hadn't thought about that in a while. I was under the impression, because in London, Ontario, there's a police investigation. In Halifax, there's a police investigation. I am under the impression that at some point we may see charges here, and that's when normally, well, I shouldn't say that, but the protectionism here, Dee, I hadn't thought about that in a while. It's still staggering
Yes.
how we're not hearing anything about young hockey players who represented this country at a high level and helped give bonuses to executives in Hockey Canada, because that's what you get when our men's World Junior team on the 3-letter over at Bell wins a tournament. That's a real thing that happens. So let's not get lost in the weeds here. People are protecting their jobs because it's a cash cow. It's a 100% cash cow on top of being completely morally and ethically corrupt on every level. It's a disgusting story. We have barely peeled the onions on this.
Oh, yeah.
We're not close to being done with this story.
No.